Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit like, follow, or subscribe on the platform that you're listening to us on. You can also check out my work at the loudest.com on the planet, knac.com, for exclusive hard rock and heavy metal interviews, live show coverage, album reviews, and more. My guests for episode 192 are Nika and Alex of the alternative hard rock act, Chase the Comet. On March 1st, Chase the Comet released their fourth studio album, Illumination Part 1, Inception. What really caught my attention about this album was how diverse it was. You really can't just put it into an alternative hard rock category. There's a little bit of death metal in there, a little pop sensibility, a little bit of everything. And here's Nika and Alex to tell you more about it. If I knew absolutely nothing about Chase the Comet, how would you describe your music to me?
I guess that's what we do for most people when we try to advertise ourselves. So we usually say it's alternative rock with
female fronted,
with the female vocals and with the elements of metal, with elements of pop, very eclectic.
The quickest and the fastest way to describe us would be that Paramore meet Evanescence. That's what happens.
The elevator,
like
pitch.
the hybrid.
Well, I like that description. It's certainly noticeable on your latest album, Illumination Part 1, Inception. It came out on March 1st. Is this a concept album or an album of themes that kind of relate to each other?
Well, I guess both in a way. The idea was for us to compile the songs that we wrote in the period from 2020, which, as you know, was a very difficult period for most of the world. And of course, you know, the songs that we wrote in that period, they kind of matched the mood. But at the same time, you know, we have always tried to write songs that are inspiring and uplifting. And that was the idea, to make, you know, the first part that is basically like a crisis, you know, and we've gone through some very difficult times in the last few years. So that's definitely reflected on the album. And then the second part was supposed to be, you know, the actual uplift, the solution. So that one is in the works right now. But I think the order of the songs on the album.
Oh yeah, the idea was to so we start with some kind of emotional, maybe sad songs. That's how you can describe them, I guess. But then we elevate our listener higher, upper to
give them that hope.
Yeah, give them the hope and the enthusiasm and something to believe in, you know. So it's like it's a journey. It's definitely a journey through some maybe dark side of your, I don't know, mood or your soul, towards something brighter and more positive.
So when it comes to composing the music, Alex, are you the one that handles all the instrumentation, and Nika, you're the one that does the lyrics, or is it a combination of both?
It depends. Yeah, it depends. Sometimes,
but mostly as you described.
Yeah, exactly how you did it. Yeah, exactly how you did it. So sometimes Nika would show me some a song in the works and a little chord progression, and then I take it from there and I build it up, making an arrangement, or sometimes we discuss. Sometimes Nika has a melody, just like she sings something, and I take my guitar and I try to find the right chords to match the melody, the vocal melody.
Yeah, sometimes recently Alex started writing songs.
But that is going to be on the second part of the album.
He recently wrote his first lyrics in English, and as you probably know, English is not our first language, as you probably can hear. So I'm kind of proud of what we're doing lyric wise, because you know, not everybody can write songs in their own language, right? And we're doing it in our second language. And we also add something in our first language, which is Russian, sometimes in our songs, right? And that's something that we started doing
pretty regularly.
We just like mix languages and songs, you know, because we looked at those guys who write in like Spanish and then they intertwine Spanish
I'd
and
say
English.
Coco, the movie Coco, the Pixar movie, was an example for us how you can combine two languages easily so everyone can understand. I can't say the same about the Russian language, yes, because probably people wouldn't know about what we're singing about.
But we think, you know, it's a good thing to do in small amounts because as we found out, the American people are very curious, and it actually, you know, makes us stand out in their eyes when they hear something different, but at the same time they can still understand what the song is about. And when we add something in Russian, it's pretty much like vaguely it's the translation of everything that has been said in English, right? So there's no conflict and people don't need to like think, oh well, what did they actually mean, right? Because music speaks for itself.
We had some extra flavor, you know, like it's like an instrument with some tone that people are not too used to, which is good for us, I guess.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's sort of what I thought for me personally is what separated you from the pack. You have this incorporation of your native language. You have these different genre types thrown in there. When I can't remember which song it was, but I heard a death metal growl in there and I'm like, wow, that was
we thought, why not?
Okay. Yeah.
So why don't we talk a little bit about the songs? Why don't you tell me a little bit about the song Broken Toys?
Oh wow, I love this one. I'm so proud of Nika, like lyric wise, because I think she did such a great job. And I specifically remember how we started working on this song. I think it was a cabin somewhere in San Bernardino. I took my guitar. It was a little vacation, like maybe 2 days for us. You remember? No internet whatsoever. And you had this piece of lyrics, I think. And you showed me the chord progression and we started working on the song. And I see immediately, I see the potential of this song. And I start like pushing Nika because we don't have any scheduled releases or anything like that. And I just go like, hey, Nika, this song is really strong. We need to start working on it right now. And I think Broken Toys kind of pushed us towards thinking that we need to put all these songs together into an album. For me,
I don't remember.
Yeah, like,
as far
as I remember.
You know, I'm responsible for the emotional part here, so I can, you know, as a woman, I can tell you about the emotional background of the song, but I don't remember any of the details that he's talking about right now.
It's for me, it's very significant because I, as an arranger, I started to work on this song in the United States, and then we went back to Russia. Where we get stuck for some quiet time, and like the change of weather. So you're living in California and you see the sun all the time and stuff, and this gives you a specific mood and specific approach to your music even. And then you're being put into Russian conditions, like,
you know, shitty weather.
Yeah. The sky is gray, and this gives you, as an offer, as an artist, this gives you some extra flavor that you were missing previously. So, and I tried to capture those two emotions, those two feelings, if you will. And also, we worked with some fantastic musicians on this one. The violinist
on the whole album,
on the whole
actually.
Record.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, nowadays people don't get to see all this work behind the creation of, you know,
just hear the result,
albums. And it was actually, you know, Alex always wants to bring in musicians that we meet along the road because we travel a lot, and we also know a lot of very talented musicians. Some of them are you know, very famous in you know, certain circles. Some of them are less famous, but they're all very talented. Most of them are our friends. And you know, in adult life, this is basically how you interact with people. You
have some common projects, and I'm keen on you know, bringing some new musicians and capturing the moment, you know, because it's very important, especially having the technologies where you can get this done and record this in your room. You don't have to go to the studio, and you don't have to have a crazy budget. So it's just like, it's very simple.
Something that I will add for, you know, for you, because a lot of people don't really understand, you know, how these things are done for independent musicians. So basically this whole album and pretty much all our previous albums were recorded, you know, by us mostly, plus our friends musicians in, you know, at home.
Yeah.
Right. And the only thing that we did, this is our first album with fully live drums that we were recorded in the studio remotely. Yeah, so basically, you know, obviously in America it's too expensive to rent a studio, you know, and that's why we did it remotely. So, you know, in our opinion, that's our best album so far sound wise, right? And then yeah, if we just keep going through like all the songs, I think that adds a lot of, you know, vibe, because it was all recorded like by just us, no sound producers, no people telling us what to do, and we were our own, you know, worst critics.
We took the liberty of deciding what's what.
Yeah.
And also the very last fact about Broken Toys is that it contains more than 100 tracks, like guitars, drums, synthesizers, you know, backing vocals, etc. And you remember we were looking for the sound guy who would mix it. And we worked with one guy, we didn't like the result. We worked the second guy, didn't like the result either. And only the third guy was able to put all those tracks together and mix it finally, because it is such, it's a difficult piece of work, you know, and probably one of the most complicated songs we've ever written. Yeah.
So Alex, you talked about sort of the emotion and what kind of inspired the music behind you, where you're going from the California weather to the Russian conditions, stuff like that. Nika, what inspired the lyrics for Broken Toys?
Just personal experience. Honestly, it's you know, it's for people older than us, and well, a lot of people say that we look young, but I'm turning 35 in less than a week. Actually next Friday. I started having the middle-age crisis, yeah. Really like 5 years ago. I'm not kidding. And a lot of people would be like, oh, come on, like you're too young to have that. Well, apparently that's what, you know, scientists are saying, that millennials have these things happening to them a little earlier, because, you know, the humanity in our rhythm of life is much faster than it used to be, right? So especially after living in Los Angeles for 5 years, by that time, I think it was written in 2020, right? We'd been immigrants in another country with no, you know, with no family, with no ties. We worked with no days off. And obviously that would make anyone go tired and burned out. And especially with COVID hitting us, right? We had a lot of things depending on our document situation, and it was just so physically and mentally hard to deal with that. It was not moving
anywhere, you know.
Yeah, and we're basically stuck in a limbo. And I know, you know, most of the world was stuck in a limbo in that time. And again, this is true for most of the songs from this album. But for us, we'd been trying to get out of the illegal status for 2 years by that moment. Yeah, we unintentionally violated the immigration policy. We didn't know that. We got screwed by a lawyer. And in 2018, we found a lawyer who said that they would be able to help us. And we were working hard, you know, getting all the documents, preparing like letters and blah, blah, blah. And in 2020, in March, we were finally given an approval to our artist visas. So we were so excited. And that was exactly when we all got shut down with COVID for the next 14 months. So that was the moment when I totally felt like I had no energy to move on whatsoever. And I felt like, you know, a broken toy who is not needed anymore.
Man, I dig this metaphor. So here we are like broken toys. It blew my mind when I heard it for the first time.
Another song on the album that seems really important to you guys is Hero. I've seen live performances of you guys doing it, as well as the lyric video and whatnot. Why don't you tell me a little bit about this song?
Well, so this song was inspired by the Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. You have probably heard of him. He was recently murdered by the regime. And, as Russian citizens, as people who left the country, who, never agreed, who never voted for that president, who were always ready to like say the word for freedoms, and be the free people of the world, the citizens of the world. We wrote this song inspired by Alexei, and we even have that Russian verse in there where we say that this is our home, we shouldn't be ashamed, right? Because that's the idea that he promoted. I think that's basically our manifest, our how to say it.
It's probably the #1 song I would recommend listening to if you want to dig into what we're doing. Hero would be #1, definitely.
Yeah, and it's part of what we believe in, not just because of what's happening in the world, but because we're nerds. We love the Lord of the Rings, we love Harry Potter, we believe in the good. So it's part of our ideology.
It's always the same script,
Yeah.
There's some evil you have to resist and stuff like that,
Well, you mentioned the nerds thing, and I'm like, well, now the videos make sense because in Broken Toys, you're dressed up as sort of the broken princess, and in The Road, I believe you're dressed up as an elf.
Correct. We both are, and thank you so much for
knowing so much about us.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. We love that stuff, and we really appreciate the nowadays culture where people don't have to be ashamed of that, because when we were kids, people were kind of mocked. I wouldn't say we were mocked, because we're not the type of people who can be easily mocked.
we're not like 100% nerds, so
well, I mean, we don't have like vast collections of figurines. Yeah. But
you gotta show it.
I got my own pop vinyl, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Oh, this is amazing.
Love it.
That's how big a nerd I am.
Nice.
Also, I guess we get inspired a lot from video games we're playing, like The Witcher, Assassin's Creed, and some other games. So the music also brings some new ideas to the table, I guess. Because it's like my theory is that, like, in the previous century, people were listening to classical music. Now the classical music is in the video games. So,
or in movies.
Yeah, or in movies. Yeah. So this is where you go to check out some new stuff, like classical music wise.
Some new sound libraries.
Yeah, like sound libraries as well. And inspiration as well, especially for rock music.
Probably. Well, you know what? You're lucky because apparently you have somewhere to store your collection. So probably, like, if we had somewhere to store our collections, we would actually have them. But we travel so much, we actually live out of a suitcase, especially in the last year.
Yeah.
So we don't really own much stuff, and it's mostly in our heads, right? And that's why we write music.
You guys mentioned that you had some help from your friends for this album. One notable one is Foundry guitarist Niko Gemini appeared on the song Play. So how did you get him involved in the project?
Oh, he's our big fella. He's Russian too.
Yeah, we've known him since 2008.
I think so.
Yeah, when we both took part in a TV project on a central TV channel back in Russia. He was in one band and we were in another band, and at first we
rivalry, yeah. I'm trying to say rivalry. It's a difficult word to pronounce.
It was rivalry because you know how these projects work, right? So like
they make you hate each other.
Yeah. But well, we were 19 years old, and we were still teenagers basically, and at first we were kind of making fun a little bit of them, but then
band,
but then Alex was like, man, but he's a really, really good guitarist. Like, even with all the, everything that I have to say about like how they behave, they were kind of sassy.
I think after the project, he started to invite us to their shows and stuff like that. So
I don't remember
yeah,
that.
yeah, I remember that. And we started to talk to each other. And then he moved to the United States. It was like more than 10 years ago, I think.
It was more than 15 years
15
ago.
years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, so he moved to California, and then later, when we got married in 2013, we went on our honeymoon to the States, and we got to visit him, and he was saying like, "Oh man, it's so cool! Like, you go to a bar, you meet these guys from Avenged Sevenfold, and blah blah blah," and we're just sitting there, just like listening to him drooling, like, "Oh, we want that too." And so yeah, and we've been friends ever since, and that's how, like Alex said, I want him to play a solo in this song because it says play your guitar.
We also gave him the audio interface as a present, so now
so
he's obliged he's obliged to record some stuff for us, which he did also for the second part of the album. He recorded the song I was working today on. So he recorded some solo guitars. He's a fantastic guitar player, and also in terms of solos, I don't really do much solos. I mean, I can play them, but I'm more about like
riffs and rhythms,
and like headbanging on the concert. But he does the solos. He's like sweeping and stuff like that. So he's just amazing in this.
Yep.
The album was released through Pavement Entertainment. How did you end up signing with the label?
Okay, well, that's an interesting
shout out time, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, yes, we would like to give a shout out to our label, to Barbara, who helped us meet you and organize this interview. And basically what happened was we had this album recorded, and we wanted to label shop a little bit because this is our third album in English, right? And we wanted to give a little bit more exposure to our music because we'd been doing a lot of things by ourselves. We're not one of those bands who just sits and waits for something to happen. And we really, really did a lot. We went on independent tours. We worked with our fans on social media. We were creating content constantly. And at some point, as I said, we had just burned out because we were so tired of, just hitting that wall and not getting enough, from like all the effort that we'd been putting in. And one of our fans, Peter from Envious Music Magazine, he sent us a link that Pavement were looking for bands, and he said, "Hey guys, I think you have a real chance to to sign a partnership with these guys because you have already been putting in some work." And so at that point we thought, well,
sure, why not?
Why don't we try something else, because we have literally tried everything else, and this is just the only way that back in Russia, we were always dreaming about being signed to a label. And though we understand that it's kind of like an old school approach, right? It's just, for us, as I said, we were so tired. We wanted to see something working differently. And we also wanted to have some help from outside to help us do the work,
and from the industry as well.
Yeah. And another important thing, of course, as I mentioned, we are not from the States. And even though the American people are fantastic, honestly, like I can't thank enough all the people who have helped us along the way, both our fans and listeners, even their
promoters, the crowd.
Yeah, the audience, people who saw us for the first time, coming to us, saying good words, buying our merch to support us, to help us pay for gas, on tour. And all these people are amazing, but we never really had, strong connections in the industry. And though we were trying hard while being in Los Angeles, we were trying hard to build those. It never worked the way where we could say, like, we can rely on these people because they would, follow through with what they had promised. You know what I mean? Like, because people say a lot of things and then they don't follow through.
You can't spell LA without flake.
If-
Yeah, you can
you can
vice
spell
versa,
flake
vice
without
versa.
a
Flake
lay.
without a lay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and that's why we thought, okay, well, we went on independent tours and it was amazing from our point of view. Some of our musicians didn't think so, but anyway,
It's not me.
no, obviously, yeah, like we were both enjoying it so much and super grateful to everyone, as I said, to people who like let us crash in their houses, and like to people who organized our shows.
It's difficult. It's difficult for us, for the independent artists.
Yeah,
So.
and that's why we wanted to take it to the next level, and that was a way for us to see, like, hey, can we make it work in a different way? Like, how can it be different? Because we haven't tried that before,
Right.
So we decided to give it a go.
What are your plans for live performances to promote the new album?
That's a very good question because right now we're not in the United States. We are kind of as I said, we've been traveling a lot in the last
And also we were
year.
working on our visas as well.
We
extend them and
we're still coming to the US on visas, so we've been working to renew those, and we're hoping, the question is open. We are really hoping our label will be able to find some tours that we can go on as a support act, as an opening act, and well, ideally in our world we would have 2 or 3 of these tours in 2024, but yeah, the question is still open. We're waiting for opportunities to line up, for the stars to line up.
Sure.
So let's go back a little bit to when you two met. You guys actually started in a band together called The Sun. That's where you met and fell in love, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
About like 20 years ago.
He's not good with numbers.
I think it was 20 years ago. It was.
Well,
It was. Yes. I am good with numbers.
19 actually. Well,
Right.
Anyway, yeah, we met when we were still in high school, and he invited me to sing in his band, and I got stuck, apparently.
I didn't know what we were doing. Like overall, we were just copying some styles from some bigger bands at that time, trying to incorporate what we love into our music. And then our drummer at the moment told me about the girl who was fantastic, who sang my heart will go on by Celine Dion at the school event or something like that.
Yeah.
And I got curious, like, hey, this is what I'm looking for, the female singer, because in my ideal picture, I was having 2 singers in the band, the male and the female, to combine the voices, and I was just playing the guitar. So
Well, you later together kicked out the male singer. I
because he was not good enough.
Yeah, I went monopolic. So yeah, and then it went from there. We were having fun, just like anyone who plays in the band.
I think we never stopped.
does.
We never stopped. We were trying, and trying on some different, what is it called? Like configurations of musicians, like different styles, different genres, different.
Couldn't resist emo, obviously. 2007. It was emo year.
Different countries even, and we're still on the go. We're still looking for something that special, to bring into our music.
Trying something new.
Yeah,
all the time.
In 2020, you both collaborated with LENA SCISSORHANDS of Infected Rain for a Napalm Records compilation. You covered the Tattoo song, All the Things She Said. Seems a little on the head covering that song. How did that opportunity come about?
It was actually it was the opportunity we created ourselves, because Alex came up with this idea to make a cover on this song.
I just never liked the pronunciation in the song. So we are huge fans of Tattoo, and especially the Russian version, but the Americans obviously know the English one. And I never thought that this version was performed good enough, like accent-wise, because the girls did their best, absolutely, but I was like, this has to be re-recorded in better accents and
also, right? Because we saw those live performances with like a live drummer, you know, and we can't really hear that on the recording that much, right? So Alex came up with this idea and he started working on the arrangement already. And then I said, like, that would be really cool if, you know, we could find someone who could do extreme vocals on the track. And also, if it was a girl, then that would make sense because there would be two girls. And that was accidentally, ta-da, that was the time when I went to an autograph session of Lena. She was doing close to where we lived in LA to actually meet her because she's from Moldova, so she also speaks Russian. And I had known her and her band for a while, so I went there because we had just played a show at that same place. So that's how I knew about that autograph session. So I came there and I was like, hey, you know, let's be friends. And that was her first year in the States. So she was also really open to, wow. She just got married at that time and they just moved to the States. And so she was also open to new acquaintances. And she said, that's so awesome that I met you because I don't really have a lot of friends here, right? It, you know, especially like girlfriends. So we, you know, became friends at least, you know, like we knew each other. And then
was it Christmas Eve, I guess?
Yeah,
when
it
we
was
went to Las Vegas.
Yeah. So for the New Year's that year, 2019 to 2020, we went to Vegas. Lena invited us to stay with her because we were celebrating the New Year together. We went to see Tenacious D live in Vegas. So yeah, and then I thought,
and I just brought my audio interface and the laptop and the microphone.
Yeah,
pretty simple, and we recorded her at her house.
Yeah, and I said, like, let's do this. She said, well, we can try. Okay, yeah. And then we recorded her, and then, you know, like, we started the work. And it was only after that Infected Rain were signed with Napalm. So when we like, and you know, the guys from Infected Rain, they recorded live drums, and we were kind of like
collaborating
all together on, you know, on the sound that would make everybody happy, which was not easy. And then
it never is.
Yeah, and then when Lena was in Los Angeles, we organized the video shoot. And they said, okay, now we're signed with Napalm, and what we want to do, we want to try them to release the video and the song on their channel, you know, to get more eyeballs on it.
And this is how we got our first 1 million views on the video. Yeah.
So, and we definitely got more eyeballs
our first
on that video.
Our first and only.
Now, maybe not the high, maybe
some other balls. Yeah.
So I know we've been talking about Illumination Part 1. When can we expect the sequel to show up?
We're working on that, but not like there's no deadline really for us. We're just trying to make everything right. And also, we're lucky to work with some incredible musicians. For instance, we had a violin player here in Tashkent. We're in Uzbekistan right now. So we had this fantastic girl who was playing with us, and she recorded, I think, 3 or 4 songs for us already. Now she's not in the town, unfortunately. And then we have our drummer here who helps me to work on the songs. Like,
we have drummers everywhere.
In every city.
We have one here. We're trying to make it work.
But really, the process is very flawless as of now, and I'm enjoying it. So probably... Well, we can make it fast. There's just no reason to speed things up. Yeah.
Honestly, and that's what I've been telling Alex for a long time, because he always like pushes me to record stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to set my priorities right. As of right now, I want to have some shows scheduled. I want to go back to the US, but
to promote the first part.
Yeah, I don't want to stay in the country. You know, where I have to work more to provide for myself, to pay rent and everything, because obviously we can't, you know, sign a lease for like a year. We don't have a car in the States right now. We sold it last year.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but the point is, if I'm coming to the States, I want to have some kind of a tour schedule or some dates that, you know, where we can play, because that's what bands do. They are supposed to play shows, right? And while being here, Uzbekistan is a very nice country. It's close to Afghanistan, but it has nothing to do with like, danger or wars.
It's Central Asia, and it's people are very friendly here.
Yeah,
the
so
food
we
is
play,
the food is delicious.
yeah, we play shows here, but obviously that's not, that's not what we have been looking for, right?
I get conflicted all the time because
Yeah.
people just don't understand English and they are into cover culture a lot. So
Yeah.
they are enjoying cover bands like 6 days out of 7.
Yeah.
And on the 7th we are playing shows, and they don't understand
don't
how
understand
to
what
how
do.
to react to us.
Yeah. And then also some people would come up and they would say like, you guys are just too good. We're
Yeah,
like,
and
we
this
know.
this is when we start missing our American audience.
Yeah.
Very supportive, very open-minded, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just different mentality.
And that's why like I think it's paramount for us right now to find a way to to come back regularly with shows and how to play these shows and just have this whole system just figured out, like where we rent a van to tour, who we play with, like all these
all the technical
questions.
issues, yes.
Yeah, and then just like make it a system. And once we do that, once we know that 3 or 4 times a year we fly back to the States, we go on tour, sell some
we'll have a
merch,
better
meet some new
understanding.
people.
Yeah.
Then we would be able to say, okay, this is the time of the year is planned, and this is when we can actually sit down, finish the album, and give something new to the growing audience, because there's no point in releasing an album when the audience is not aware of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But what's cool is that we have enough material, enough songs to put together the whole record.
And
so
enough
inspiration.
inspiration.
It's not a problem for us.
Because we're not the type of the band that, as I said, sits on their butts and just waits, for things to happen. We have things constantly happening to us. We saw many countries in the last year, many cultures, experienced a lot of different revelations and inner transformations, however, upscale that might sound. But we have a lot of things to share with the world. And I think, especially with, all the butt praising and all the
What?
yeah, like what are the artists singing about nowadays? Like I can't, or like
we're just too old school, I think.
Like I want my songs to actually mean something, and however small the feedback is, there is people whose life we can actually improve or change, or like people who we can help with our songs and in the
give them hope and some
tough moments of their lives. And that's what matters for me, because I used to be the person who wanted to be popular just for the sake of it, to get that love from everybody that I wasn't giving myself. Now I'm like, I know what I'm worth. And at this point, that would really make me happier if I could, with whatever I do with my songs, if I could help people, and if that matters something to them, I'm happy.
That's your mission.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds like a good mission.
Yeah.
Before I let you two go, how did you guys settle on the band name Chase the Comet?
Oh, it's actually our third band name, because we started as
third time's
the charm. As you said, we started as the Sun back in Russia, but it was impossible to Google, because the Sun, like what pops up is this "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles, or "The House of the Rising Sun," etc., etc. So it's like
the newspaper.
Oh, the newspaper, yeah. And also we found like 6 or 7 bands who were called the Sun, so it was like super confusing. And then we changed our band name to My Rock Band, which we thought at the time that it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Then we moved to the United States, and many people started from the music industry, started to tell us that, guys, this band name is kind of confusing, because imagine the situation: you are being aired on radio on the radio, and the DJ is announcing you like, this is my rock band. Whose rock band? The DJ's?
No, this is not my actual rock band. This is the band called My Rock Band.
And we were like super pissed off and frustrated because we had to change our band name again for the third time.
Yeah.
But as Nika said, the third time is the charm. And I think at that time you already had your stage name, NIKA COMET.
Yeah, and pretty much like in 2013, I think, or 2014, I had been Nika the Sun, but since the Russian people couldn't pronounce the
TH sound.
Yeah, they say Nika the Sun, which sounds horrible. So I thought, okay, I have to come up with some stage name that, you know, that I would like. Right. So I thought about I was hesitating between Nika Rocket and NIKA COMET. And I'm a little superstitious. So the word rocket in Russian has the word cancer in it. So that's why, yeah, raketa, rak is cancer. So as I said, I'm a little, you know, superstitious. So I was like, no, I don't like this one. I'll go with comet because also it's a space object like Freddie Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember how he came up to me and he said like, well, you can't pick your own nickname. I'm like, fuck yeah, I can. Freddie Mercury did, so I can. And so I did. And then when we were choosing our band name with in America already, I said, well, we could do something with Comet. And then, you know, Chase the Comet is kind of similar to Chase the Dream, which is basically, you know, the story about us. And
the
also
American Dream, meaning the American Dream.
Yeah, like it also looks cool, like CTC.
Yeah, and also this gives you a huge field of imagination for your merch, for your CDs, etc. So it's like the space theme is like huge and limitless. So like, yeah.
So we loved it.
Really love it.
We love it up to this day. Yeah, we think it's great.
Well, Alex and Nika, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new Chase the Comet album is Illumination Part 1, Inception. It's out now. It's a great album. I want to thank you both for coming on the podcast to talk more about it.
Hope to see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you, George.
Bye-bye, George.
Once again, I want to thank Nika and Alex of Chase the Comet for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, Illumination Part 1, Inception. Head over to your favorite music streaming app, take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy, support the artist. For all things Chase the Comet, head over to their official website, chasethecomet.com. I also want to thank Barbara Papa George and Pavement Entertainment for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.